This is Alex from CSUN, and I'm going to be taking you through how to get started with teaching online using Zoom. First, we're going to start out on the CSUN webpage. There are multiple ways to log into Zoom and get started, but I'm going to take you through what I think is some of the easiest ways to start out. I know for some of you this might be a little bit of a first-time experience, but don't worry, I'm going to give you all the tools you need to get started and be successful so that hopefully you can follow these steps, try it out for yourself, and then when you're ready to actually schedule a meeting and get your students together online, you'll be ready to go. So let's go ahead and get started. So you can start on the portal page, or you can go to csun.zoom.us directly, which will take you away from the CSUN website, but now this is going to be the CSUN Zoom homepage. And I want to direct your attention to two places here, the Download Center, down below the Matador, and above the Matador, where you're going to sign in to the dashboard later on. Now, we're going to go to the Download Center for step 1 to download Zoom Client for Meetings, which will be the desktop app. Go ahead and click download on that, and you should see it start to download in your browser. Should take about 10-15 seconds or so. And then from here, what you're going to want to do is go open up that download in case it doesn't launch automatically. And you are going to hit continue or run or allow, whatever it's asking. And then you will want to follow the installer, click continue. And hopefully Zoom should open up automatically for you like this, but not before it's probably going to ask you to sign in. My account was already signed in, but you're going to want to sign in on two different places. The dashboard, where you're going to go in and schedule meetings, and also you want to make sure that you're signed in on the app. The benefit for this is that you want to be sure that you're signed into your pro account. And so the way that you're going to do that is when you are asked to sign in, you do not want to sign up for a free account. And you also do not want to sign in using Google or Facebook. You want to make sure that you click the option to sign in with SSO. SSO, for those of you who don't know, is single sign-on, which is the same username and password we use for everything here at CSUN to keep it simple. So what you're going to want to do is click sign in with SSO, and from there it's going to ask you what your company or domain name is. Go ahead and type CSUN. All lowercase or all caps should be fine, and from there go ahead and click continue. Then you're going to recognize this familiar screen, which will prompt you to enter in your CSUN username and password. This would be a good time to pause the video if you want to go ahead and try this for yourself and make sure that you've downloaded Zoom and are able to go ahead and enter your CSUN info to sign in. This will enable your pro account, and the reason why you want to be in your pro account is because this comes with a lot more functions and features than than a normal account would be if you were to just create a free one. Also, we have these accounts that normally cost $15 a month paid for us, so I would recommend take advantage of that. Alright, so now that we have downloaded and signed into the application, to recap, we went to the Download Center and we downloaded the Zoom app. We are now going to go to the dashboard side of things, which is accessed through the sign in up here above the Matador. So go ahead and click sign in. This is going to lead you to your profile page. Your profile page is where you can upload a photo, you can edit or change your personal meeting ID or add a personal link. This is totally optional. You don't have to do anything here, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But if you want to see down here, the capacity for your meetings is 300 participants at a time. So you can definitely have a few sections of classes on here, or if you happen to teach a large lecture class, you'll definitely be able to add everybody into a Zoom meeting if the need arises. So where I'm going to take you to next is over to the Meetings tab, and this is where we are going to start to schedule some meetings. So go ahead and click on Meetings over to the left-hand side. Okay, So now that you have downloaded the app and signed into your profile, we are going to schedule a meeting, and I'm going to show you how to get that meeting invitation out to your participants. So if you click on meetings to the left, which is underneath the profile page, the only button you should see is schedule a new meeting. You're going to go ahead and click schedule a new meeting, and that will take us to this page. So go ahead and take a minute if you'd like to fill out any of the information that you want to start out for this test meeting. And one thing that I want to point out here is that when you're scheduling a meeting, this is simply for invitation purposes. If you were to send out an Outlook invite, this just gives you, options to show the duration and when the meeting is going to start. This information is kind of irrelevant if you're not going to be sending out a calendar invite. What we're going to probably be doing, which I will show you in the next section or two, is how to put this invitation information into Canvas. So you probably won't need this, but feel free to go ahead and enter in the date and time anyway, just to get it right. But like I said before, if you enter in a 15-minute meeting and the meeting ends up going to an hour, this will never limit you on time or cut you off at all. One of the functions that I think will be very useful right here is the recurring meeting function. You can either set this to recur daily, weekly, monthly, or with no fixed time. The weekly function I think is cool because most of you might want to just set up a weekly meeting, but you can also set up a weekly meeting by just setting it to no fixed time, and then that gives you the option to start this meeting again and again at the same meeting ID, so that will keep things less confusing for the students, and it'll be less work for you for having to set up multiple meetings. So I like to just keep that as no fixed time, and then the meeting will generate an automatic ID, so go ahead and leave that set as is, unless you would like to set it to your personal meeting ID. You can do one or the other, but the generated meeting number is also fine. You could require a meeting password, but that's just an extra step. Totally up to you. I don't think that's a function you'll need to be using. I like to set up everyone's video to start as on, but you can choose to start with everyone's videos off, whatever you're comfortable with. And then I like to also have the audio selected to both. Zoom is great in this function because you can choose to join the meeting how most of everyone will probably be joining, through the computer, using a laptop or a desktop computer that may have a built-in microphone. Or if you need to dial in using a cell phone or using a landline in case your computer happens to die, your equipment doesn't happen to work at the last minute, there's just a backup option where Zoom allows you to call in to the video meeting using a telephone, where you'll obviously just be able to hear the audio. But if you needed to dial in like an old school conference call as a backup option, selecting both gives you that option to do so, and I'll show you that in a future segment as we get into the functionality of the actual meeting. The last thing I want you to check out here is some of these features that are pretty self-explanatory. Enabling participants to join before the host is just sort of like what would happen if you walked into a conference room before the meeting started. Before you as the host start your session, this just allows any of the students who might want to get started a little early ahead of time to just be able to see each other and wave through each other's cameras, and possibly chat if you don't select this box, which is mute participants upon entry. And again, this is something that you can do if you want to set up like a webinar type of video, which I will show you how to do specifically in a future segment as well. But a quick, thing on that is you could turn the participant's video off, have your video on, and turn the participants' mics off, so that when you start the session, your video will be on and you'll be the one who they'll be able to hear. And from there you can go about just lecturing as normal, or just setting this up if that's how you'd like to do it. But you may not need that, so if you don't need to, you don't have to worry about it. The waiting room is also a feature I'll show you how to use later on once we get into office hours, but this is pretty self-explanatory too. You will not want to use this if you're trying to have a class session and you have 30 to 70 students. Enabling the waiting room means that you have to allow students one by one into your meeting, and this is again great for doing office hours, but I would not recommend this for a class meeting setup. So I would go ahead and leave that unchecked unless you're specifically setting up an office hours session. These last couple you may or may not need if you want to record the session. You can also choose to do this once you're in the meeting, but if you want to go ahead and set it up ahead of time so that the recording starts as soon as you begin the meeting, it just removes one step from the beginning of the meeting if you want to just go ahead and click it to start now. You may or may not want to record. You don't have to, so this is totally up to you. The last thing down here is just a section to add alternate hosts. If you are going to be team teaching or want to have any guest speakers, you may want to add them as a guest host. But this isn't really necessary, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But to add a guest host, you just need to make sure that whoever that person is has an active Zoom account. Otherwise, it will not recognize their email. And also, this is going to be a great time to pause the video if you need to pause and go back and fill out some of this information. And then go ahead and click save, and we will start up again on this next screen. Okay, so now hopefully you have gone ahead and scheduled your meeting, and this is going to be sort of like the review page so that we can check our work and make any changes in case we need to alter any of the things that we set up. So as I said before, you can go ahead and send out a calendar Outlook invite if you want to, or a Yahoo calendar. I don't think you're going to be needing that, but in the future, if that becomes a helpful tool, that's what you can do right there. Simply click that button. It'll download some kind of a calendar file that then you can open up in Outlook and just go ahead and invite people through Outlook. There's a separate YouTube video I think you can look up if you want to use that, because I believe I'm going to show everyone how to do this in Canvas, but as I was saying before, that's just a little shortcut to that. But basically what you want to do is this is going to be the meeting ID. And so what I recommend is copying this information, highlight and hit copy. And then just for the sake of this webinar that I'm making, I'm going to show you right here. You want to just basically paste the information into an email or into a different Word document. And then we're going to go back to this page again and take the join URL, and we are going to highlight and copy that as well and paste that here. So now this is basically the only information that anyone is going to need to join this meeting. If people are going to be joining from a computer, they can simply click this link, and that is going to open up Zoom and take you right into the meeting. As you can see, the meeting ID is part of the URL. Otherwise, anyone can open up their Zoom app and simply go to join a meeting. Again, that's from the home page on the app, clicking join, and then simply dialing in the number that we have provided right here. So it's kind of just like dialing a phone number. It's going to either be a 9 or 10 digit number. So again, you can either enter in the information by manually dialing it, or you can click on the link and that should automatically launch your app to go ahead and bring you straight into the meeting as well. So if you want, go ahead and copy that information, and I'm going to show you where to paste that shortly. Another quick way you can see this as well is if you click on copy the invitation over here on the right side of the screen, that gives you all of this information that's part of the automatically generated invite. This gives you information so that in case you ever have anyone joining you from any other countries or continents, this gives you a variety of calling code numbers that you can possibly use if anyone ever needs it. There's different location IDs to call in through, and then again, what the information you will need is going to be the join URL and the meeting ID. So that can still be found here, but you do not want to click copy the meeting invitation, because that's going to copy all of this invitation. You basically just want to have the meeting ID and the join URL. So again, you can highlight this information and click Control C or Command C, or go up to Edit and just hit copy. And then what you can do from there is again open up a another page where you can copy and paste that invitation info. And this is going to be fine either way. This information again is basically the same, just as long as you get the join URL and the meeting ID. That is all you want to make sure that the students have. And then also the third place that this can be found too is, since I have scheduled this invitation, or since I've scheduled this meeting, again you can see the settings that you have here. If you need to make any changes, you can hit edit this meeting, which will bring you back to this page in this format again if you need to change or edit any of the information. But from here, you can also start the meeting, what we're going to do is go back to the meetings page so that you can see that this is lined up in your meeting docket, that this is a scheduled meeting. And again, you can click on it here if you need to go back in to make any edits to the details. You can also start the meeting from here, or if you want to start over, you can delete the meeting and start by clicking schedule a new meeting again. So if you go into the Zoom app now, again, this is the dashboard, and then this is the Zoom app. If you're in the Zoom app and you go up here to click meetings, you will now see that I have an upcoming meeting, which is the one that we just set up, and we can verify that by checking the meeting invitation ID, which is right here, and we can see that that matches up right here. What you don't want to do is schedule a meeting using your personal meeting ID and share a different meeting ID to your students, because what will happen is if you are not both on the same meeting ID, you will not be in the same Zoom meeting. So it is very important that when you schedule this meeting that you share the right invitation to the students. So don't schedule a test meeting and send that out and then schedule a new meeting, and make that the real one. Make sure that whatever you're setting and scheduling is the same information that you send out to everybody, just to make sure that you are literally on the same page together. You want to just make sure that you are both using the same meeting ID to be in the same place. But again, from the Zoom app, you can look here, and this invitation will be here again, where you can also go to copy the invitation, or you can show the meeting invitation here and go ahead and highlight and copy that same invitation information that I showed you before. One of the nice things about Zoom is you will have multiple ways to do something. There's no wrong or right way to use the functions, but the wrong or right way will sort of come about in the way that you choose to use Zoom. So it kind of becomes about the goal, whether or not you want to get your whole class on Zoom at the same time, or whether your goal might be to host office hours. Maybe your goal is to do both, and the right or wrong way kind of comes into play when it goes into going about that process. You want to make sure that you have the right order of operations to make things not only easy on yourself to put in the least amount of steps, as if you were to have to figure it out and then get things wrong, look up a YouTube tutorial, maybe watch this video over again, and then to try to go back and do it again. I'm going to show you the purpose of these videos I'm putting together is to hopefully show you and get you set up with the easiest possible way, giving you the most explanation without rushing through it. And then also making sure that you're prepared so that in case any students come to you with questions, you'll know enough about this so that you'll be able to help them troubleshoot, or just feel comfortable enough that you know what you're doing, which I know that most of you do. But if this is the first time setting this up, this may be a little bit daunting. And again, I apologize. I know that we're all kind of on crunch time trying to figure this out right now. But I promise if you watch these videos all the way through, and if you need to review any of these sections, feel welcome to do so. But my purpose of putting these videos together the way that I am is to make sure that everybody knows exactly what steps to take, and hopefully you can follow along, and hopefully you've been able to follow along up to this point. But I want to make sure that you know exactly how to do this, and sort of get in the right habit of doing things this way the first time, so that you don't get confused and then have to go back and relearn how to do something which might take up more time. And I know obviously right now everyone has an absence of time, so to speak. So hopefully this sort of explains things up to this point. This was just how to schedule a meeting and get the meeting invitation, or sort of the meeting invitation information extracted from this setup. So now we have hopefully scheduled your first meeting, and up to this point you have now downloaded the app. We have logged in using your CSUN account, so hopefully you are logged into your Pro account. Again, you can go back and see that you are logged in and verify that by checking in the app itself, going up to the right top part of the screen in this window and clicking on your initials to see your account information. And right here it should say licensed if you were logged in with your CSUN information, and again you can verify that by seeing the email here. The only reason why I'm going over this too is I know some professors teach at different universities or teach at multiple universities, and I know that you might already be using Zoom with another university. So the importance of making sure that you're signed into the right account and that you are downloaded with the most up-to-date version version is just for the sake of having everyone consistently on the same application and the same page, but also making sure that if you go into the CSUN dashboard to schedule a meeting, you're scheduling it under your CSUN account, and I just want to make sure that you're signed into Zoom using the same account as well. Otherwise, all you have to do is go down here and switch accounts and sign in using the right one. But if for any of you who might teach at multiple universities and have followed these steps but aren't seeing the meeting show up in your meeting lineup, it may just be because you have been signed in or created a meeting under one account and your application, the Zoom program, is signed into a different account or might not be signed into any account at all. So please make sure that you're signed in, and otherwise up until this point, this should be exactly how you can go about signing in and scheduling your first meeting. And in the next section, I'm going to go over how to apply that to Canvas, and I'm going to also include a few more best practices and some of the frequently asked questions that I get in a follow-up segment after that. So once you've gotten over some of these basic things, I'll go ahead and explain some of the more advanced features and functions, but I don't want to overload you with too much information in the beginning. So this is a great time to take a break, or if you want to go ahead and make sure that you can get yourself signed in and schedule a test meeting to get up to this point, go ahead and do that, and I will see you in the next section.